What's up, everybody? It's your boy MARZZMAN here, and today I'm joined by the MARZZMAN crew, both Frank and Chris, to basically go over the biggest gaming news topics of the week for Vendetta Sports Gaming. And boys, every week we go over what are the biggest topics that happen, and obviously if we miss something just a day before it occurs, you gotta ease off our backs a little bit here. But basically every week in just the lives of gaming, there's always going to be major things that happen, and it's our job to break it down for you and kind of give you our basic opinions about what we feel about it. And this week, there were some key things that did occur. And we'll start off with the biggest topic is going to be Microsoft is striking a deal to bring all Xbox games to GeForce Now, as well as a 10-year plan to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo. So let's start off with the first one. Basically, this kind of continues along with our what you call the fanboy unit, Law & Order fanboy unit exclusive that we've been covering this whole time. And the key thing is that Microsoft's main goal at this point is to try to at least break apart a lot of the arguments that these UK regulators are trying to use in trying to either halt the deal, stop the deal, or just stop it outright. And so Microsoft's been on their escapade, their whole campaign mission of just trying to go after all the different arguments in which they're making. And one of the key arguments that the UK regulators had mentioned was that Microsoft would dominate the cloud gaming market since they have xCloud, and granted it's kind of trash, but it is a function that is very rare at this point. As in, there are gaming companies like PlayStation does have cloud gaming, but it's not to the level of Microsoft's. The only other competitor that you could see having that would be the GeForce, which is led by NVIDIA, and essentially Microsoft is trying to make a deal that will bring all Xbox games, which means any Activision and Blizzard game, if purchased, would be coming to this GeForce cloud gaming service, which obviously is a big deal for those that are relying on that service rather than using xCloud. But the second one, which I think is the most interesting, is that it will be a kind of this official signing of this 10-year plan for Call of Duty to get to Nintendo. So obviously seeing both these things, the biggest question that I have for the whole panel is, do you think these strategies will get Activision and Blizzard deal through? And I don't think per se that this is the only thing that needs to happen for that deal to really go through. I think at the end of the day, you're going to be seeing a lot of things Microsoft will try to attempt to do to kind of shed light to this idea that, they aren't trying to block people from gaining access to some of these titles. And we're going to see, we kind of mentioned this last week, that by the end of this week, they have a meeting set where they're going to have behind the closed doors. They're going to discuss kind of what Microsoft's point of view is here and what are some things they can do to try to kind of mend this relationship between them and the UK regulators. And at that point, that's where we're going to see like the final decision, because I think in the next following week, that's where we'll see kind of like their initial decision, and then we'll see appeals and all that stuff. But I think these are just methods to help with that process, so that when they get to the meeting, they're saying, hey, listen, we have a deal with Nintendo, we have a deal with Steam, we have a deal with NVIDIA, we have all these things on the table, and the only group hasn't signed yet is the biggest opponent of it, which is Sony, right? And that's kind of going to be kind of their method to them trying to say that this is everyone is on board with this, everyone's okay with the deal, and it's more about power versus saying, is it going to be hurting of consumers, right? Because that's the main argument of what everyone's worried about, that this deal would hurt consumers. If it's about hurting businesses, I mean, these are conglomerates. Like they are fine either way, right? Whether Microsoft gets the deal or not, they're going to be fine. It's more about whether or not this deal would hurt consumers in the long run, and that's really what the entire debate goes to. So I kind of want to get your guys' opinion here. Do you think that these things will help in getting this Activision Blizzard deal through? And I'll start with Frank. I want you to give me your opinion here. Do you think this will change anything?
Well, it's going to help. I mean, I don't think it's not going to close a deal for them, right? Because let's be honest with each other, guys. The deal they need to close is the deal with Sony, and they have to get Sony on board, or they have to make a deal rich enough where the regulators are going to have to tell Sony to take it or leave it, right? So that has. Now, the best way they can do that is by checking off all the other boxes, and that's going to be the important part about this, right? So they need to check off all the other boxes with the other groups. We talked about the EU regulators. They have to get to the UK and then the United States. So these are all things that they have to pass through. But the big boys they have to get on board at the end of the day is they have to give a rich enough deal where the regulators say, hey, Sony, you need to take this because we will approve it. or that they convince Sony to run through this deal and get another deal done. So those are going to be the biggest things for Microsoft to get this deal done. But this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and Chris, what do you think here, man? Do you think this actually changes really the deal in any way? Do you think it actually might impact it for the better for Microsoft?
Yeah, so I want to first say, thank God the end is near. We'll figure out all this is pretty soon. So to kind of hit on what Frank said, I think the most important thing for Sony is going to be Call of Duty, right? So I'm going to think that they're going to have to do something drastic with Call of Duty, whether it's, say, hey, listen, the multiplayer and the campaign will guarantee for life. It'll be on PlayStation, maybe have just Warzone, for Xbox players as well, an exclusive Warzone. So I think it's going to come down to, the deal they make with Sony, with Call of Duty specifically. So if they can do something with Call of Duty and get Sony on board, I think, the strategy is, as well as a deal with Sony, is really going to push this through.
Yeah, I see. Like the big thing I'm looking at is that if you were to sign a deal that says that your Call of Duty is coming to Sony for forever until the IP dies, and the only thing that really gives Microsoft the advantage is that it can go on Game Pass. Well, even going on PlayStation Plus, that was part of their deal too, as well. But I think maybe the only thing you can get out of this that would be solely beneficial to Xbox would be like exclusive like cosmetics, because that's what Sony's done for a while. They've always done like you get to play Call of Duty like a day earlier, like you get exclusive cosmetics for playing on PlayStation, or other things. Like one of the things that came out was that Sony pays less money to Activision Blizzard to get access to Call of Duty on their marketplace, and that was something that like Microsoft kind of, by buying them, essentially means that we don't have to pay dues anymore. It's like we just own them, right? So that's kind of like their, I guess, the method of the madness here. So yeah, I think making a deal like that would definitely just make it easier, right? And the second thing here is that seeing that Nintendo signed the deal for Call of Duty, I mean, we all know that the Switch is kind of lesser on this graphically ability to do any of these games. Like, I know when that deal passed through, a lot of people, especially like Halo fans, were like, yeah, I can play mobile Halo on the Switch. You're telling me that's the thing? I don't think that's what it's telling me. I have a feeling, an inkling that they are inching closer and closer to a Switch Pro, and that will allow for Nintendo to really be able to make Call of Duty available on their systems and even other exclusive. I mean, I think this is the biggest thing for a lot of those, like, there's a lot of fanboys out there that are angry about having games be on multiple platforms, and this is definitely going to be a dagger for a lot of people. Listen, if I saw Halo on Nintendo Switch, I'd be weirded out. I'd be confused as into like, how do we get to this point? But when I saw this news update put out there, I was like, that is a big deal, because now it means that you're basically including more people to play these Xbox games. Now, granted, the deal is not specific. It could be some games. I know it's mainly for Call of Duty.
Just Call of Duty.
No, but they said Xbox games, and like they weren't just specific. This article is specifically about Call of Duty, but they also did include Xbox games, and I was like, okay, this is an interesting thing to kind of put out there as well. So, I mean, I think personally this means that Switch Pro is coming. Do you guys think the Switch Pro is coming? I'll start with Chris first. Do you think a Switch Pro is coming? This is like
I'll be mad if it does in the next year, because I just bought mine, and I know I said that a few days ago to you guys, but it's all about the servers and how it plays on the Nintendo Switch, because I know Call of Duty had come out for the Wii U and things like that in past consoles, and it was a little weird. So, I mean, if they really are going to sign a 10-year deal with Nintendo, which that they say that they are, I can only assume that a Pro will be coming out.
Yeah, I thought so too. And Frank, what do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I do. The Switch can't run Call of Duty normally, so they need to have a higher end console, and Switch Pro makes the most sense. I think that it's coming sooner rather than later, and I think it's coming in 2024. So I know it's bad news for Aki, but I think it is coming in 2024, and all the signs which we talked about last week about the console, they're not producing as many consoles anymore. They're starting to slow down production. And now with this news coming out about Call of Duty that the Switch can't really run, I think it's going to be a Switch Pro that's coming very soon.
And that's the only thing too, is that if they get to the level of making this like a Steam Deck, then that's great for Nintendo. I mean, like you can utilize the same type of technology that they did, and you have the same type of product. That's as good as you need, really. Steam Deck is powerful enough to run Call of Duty on their system, and it works. Like it's not like choppy. It's pretty solid. So I'm expecting that. We also have a new news update following Nintendo. We're getting a Nintendo Direct specifically for the new Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's going. Let's just say I didn't expect Nintendo to make an entire Direct on the sole idea of Super Mario Bros. Movie. I thought getting a game, Super Mario Bros. Game, would be great to get a Direct for. But no, they're going to have it for the movie, which is going to be, I believe, March 8th. I think is the official date. But I mean, what we've seen so far, the question is, do you think this movie will be all right? Will it turn out well, or will it just be kind of one of those like crappy like adaptations? Me personally, I think the movie will be solid. I think the voice acting will be solid by people like Jack Black will probably steal the show. I think Charlie Day will be all right as Luigi. I think Seth Rogen might surprise me as Donkey Kong, but I'm not going to be like, whoa, Donkey Kong's amazing. But I think Jack Black would be probably the best one. Yeah. I think Chris Pratt has experience being a voice actor, but he has not, every movie he's been in, he's just been his voice. So he's never once had adapted his voice into anything he's done. So Jack Black, I've seen do multiple, like Kung Fu Panda was extremely successful with Jack Black being the main character. And like you could tell he has experience being a voice actor based on the trailers alone, right? I thought that he's going to steal the show with his rendition of Bowser, but I think it'll be all right. DreamWorks has been a pretty consistent animated movie company. They've done a good job over the years, and making Shrek, even recently with Puss in Boots, like they've done some kill with Minions and all the Despicable Me. Like all those movies have been straight up very good, right? It's just.
They've also,
they've
sequels
had some
have been a little
ones
ugly.
like Pets 2 and like all these other Minions galore. You've had a bunch of sequels that have just been crap. But whenever they drop like a starter movie of a new story, they've usually landed on it. And Nintendo invested. First off, they never make movies. They never make adaptations to their stuff. Like even having them do the Detective Pikachu was a very big gamble for Nintendo, and it paid off for them. So I think that they are easing up their gates, but this is their big boy. This is their baby. This is Super Mario. And for them to really open the doors for DreamWorks to do this must be a big deal, and they probably invest a lot of effort, and they want to make sure that it meets their criteria. So I think it's going to be good. I just think that I'm not gonna be surprised if I watch this and say, "Wow, Chris Pratt really didn't put really any change at all." Like I would not be surprised about that. But I would be surprised if this just flopped like bad. It was just bad a movie. Like I would be surprised. Frank, I think you're trying to hold back laughter. I'll let you tell me what you think. Do you think this is gonna be a bad movie?
I don't think. Listen, I think visually, everything that I've seen visually looks really good. The big questions to me is how weird is the voice acting going to be, and the story, right? The story and how they're going to do this, because there's a lot of different avenues that Mario could go in with this. So I'm interested to see how they design a story. It's a 90-minute movie, which it's a little bit shorter than the average, animated movie, but not by much, right? So, it runs at a decent time. I really don't, like you mentioned, Jack Black, I think is going to be the best out of it. And Chris Pratt has had experience in the Lego movie. So, they've had some experience with these animated voices. But, again, this is a little bit different, right? This is not the Lego character. This is Mario. So we're going to see how they make this work. But I actually think the ceiling for this movie can be pretty high. I do think, again, you talk about DreamWorks, you talk about some of their recent, with the Puss in Boots movie that they just came out with at the end of last year, which was really good. If they fall along similar to those things compared to some of the other sequels that they've made, I think they'll be pretty good. But like you said, this is their baby, so I don't think it'll flop. I just don't know how good it will be. I think the ceiling is the Lego movie. And if it hits that, I actually enjoyed the Lego Movie or Wreck-It Ralph type level. And if it gets to that aspect, I think it'd be pretty solid. How great? Not sure, but I don't think it'll flop.
Yeah, and Chris, what do you think, man? I know we're all going to go to the movie ourselves, and we're going to watch it together and have our own little debate about how we feel about it. But what do you think, man? So far, what's your feeling?
Yeah, so I wonder how long this direct is going to be. Just specifically talking about the direct and what it's really going to go over. But the movie itself, I think it's going to be good. Like you guys said, it is their baby essentially. So, and again, they have really good actors. They have DreamWorks, which is a heavy hitter in the animated world. It's going to come down to Chris Pratt and how, I guess, close he sounds to Mario. But I think
he won't.
We
got to get over that.
You got to get over it now, dude, or else you're going to be disappointed.
I know. So, I mean, it's going to come down to the story, at least. Hopefully Chris Pratt does a well enough job. I'm just going to say this in ending. I hope it's a Last of Us adaptation and not a Halo adaptation. I hope I hope it makes us happy and not makes us sad like Halo did.
Dude, I mean, Halo scarred me. So it's always hard to see. The Halo show has scarred me. I'm like a little weary of any adaptation, but that's why I was a little uneasy even about The Last of Us. But Last of Us has given me hope. So has others.
Yeah, last three guys. We've had Arcane, you've had Edge Runners, you've had Last of Us. We're on a good streak here with
last
adaptations.
year and this year have given me some good feelings of adaptations, but you really want to see them land on this movie because of the fact that, like, the fact is it would be kind of embarrassing for 343 Microsoft to say, hey, well, Super Mario got a good adaptation, Last of Us got a good adaptation, and your boy got a garbage adaptation. Like that is embarrassing if that were the case, because now granted, I'm looking at the trailer that they showed, the commercial one they dropped. That was hilarious. I thought that was funny. Yeah. It gave funny. A good feeling of what the comedy and animation is going to be like in the movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was how the movie started. After the penguin scene, when Bowser caps all those penguins like they did in the first trailer, that's how the movie starts. And then it goes right to the commercial. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, and to get you in the feeling of where is Mario now? What is he doing? And it's just like that. And it would make you laugh because it was a pretty clever little thing they did there. And I thought it was solid. But yeah, hopefully this is a good adaptation because I really do need it. We also had today was the Sony State of Play, and basically when you take a look at the overall list of things that were discussed. I mean, yeah, this State of Play was mainly focused on VR, right? That was because the release of PSVR obviously is a big deal, and for VR fans, PlayStation did land on a good VR headset, right? Granted, the downside is it's $600 in price, which is a lot, right? It's more than the PlayStation 5 as a whole, right? And VR at times can be what I consider to be a niche concept. I'm not saying it's bad. Niche is not bad. It just means that it's more restrictive towards people who like VR. I don't think VR is for everybody. I have a VR headset. I have the Oculus Quest. It was solid. It's fun to play. I ended up buying the Oculus Rift, but it broke, so I couldn't get to play some of those higher end VR games, which that was really what I was looking for, because yeah, Quest is cool. It's just in the headset, so it has some cool games to play, but you want those higher level VR games that are really fun to experience. And yeah, VR is great, but it's like I said, it depends on who you are. I know people who aren't really into it. I know people who really are into it. So it really is up your alley. But what also was dropped during this State of Play, some big games like the Baldur's Gate 3 was kind of shown. A lot of people were excited about this well-known RPG coming back. A lot of people were really interested in that. Street Fighter 6 got another trailer, which I thought was pretty cool. And obviously, for me personally, Resident Evil 4 got some gameplay reveals that showed off some of the gameplay and a lot of things that people really wanted to see, right? When you remake a game, you do want to see what they added or what they changed. But the big highlight of the show that a lot of people were discussing, whether positive or negative, was the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, which obviously had been delayed multiple times. And and has been through a lot when it comes to their development. And now they actually have dropped a release date and showed a lot of the things that they're, coming along with it. Now, granted, this Sony State of Play didn't necessarily show a lot of exclusives. It didn't really show us a lot of like major titles in the first half of the year, mainly because, a lot of the big titles that they dropped were last year, late last year, and later this year, you'll probably see a lot more big ones like Spider-Man and coming out in the fall and stuff like that. But granted, it was all right. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it's bad. Like people who just say, "Oh, this is a horrible PlayStation Direct." Like, it's fine. It's doing what the goal is. If people had high expectations of this, then I don't know what your expectations are. People who are blowing this out of proportion, like this is the greatest thing I've seen. Like you got to temper your expectations still.
Like, if you're a VR fan, I guess so.
If you're a VR fan, I think
that's what the goal was. It was a heavy VR Direct.
Yeah, it was a heavy VR Direct. I'm not gonna say like it's bad. Like that's what I'm saying. It's not bad. If you're into play PSVR, then you got some cool looking games to kind of start off your generation on that is right. But the only thing is, it didn't really show me much other stuff. I think the Baldur's Gate's cool, and Resident Evil remake stuff was cool. I'm a little weary about Suicide Squad though. I mean, it looks similar to Marvel Avengers to me, and that one gets me nervous because Marvel Avengers looked hyped. I was gonna go get it, and the issue is that it was very bland. Based on what everyone said, it just felt like a button mashing fest, and you really didn't get much satisfaction. So that's the only thing I'm worried about with the Suicide Squad. Right? It seems like a similar game to me. But what was your guys' take? What do you guys feel overall about this? I mean, the biggest thing I'll focus on first is the VR. Do you think this this device elevates itself to the levels of like the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift, like into levels of what you can do with it? And Frank, I'll get your opinion first here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I do want to apologize. I'm going in and out a little bit, but just bear with me. I do think the virtual reality headset that they came up with has been really strong. I mean, I saw some of the live action shots from some of the streamers that and content creators that I watched, and it looks really good. They were playing some demos, but I also saw some for Horizon. I think it was Forbidden West, or it was Resident Evil Village, and they looked actually really, really good. I think this is top end virtual reality equipment. Problem is, top end is really expensive, right? You mentioned $600 for this device, and again, that's just for the console part, not even for the games that you have to spend money on. So, it's a lot. It's a huge investment. If you think you're a virtual reality fan, I think it's top of the market, top quality that I saw from my end, at least. I think as close to virtual reality as you can get. But man, it is extremely expensive. But I do think, again, it's kind of resetting the market. But at some point, I think it'll be hard to get a larger population in it until it can try to get that price point down a little, because it's more expensive than the hardware, so than the PS5 and stuff like that. So it's hard to compete when it's that expensive.
Yeah, and Chris, what do you think, man? Do you think this PSVR 2 is now becoming like the standard VR headset? I think, like I said, the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, those are considered to be the top of the market. Do you think that PSVR 2 elevates itself to that level?
Yeah, so the things that I saw were they were pretty cool. I remember playing. Yeah, so I thought the PlayStation VR headset was pretty cool. The things that I saw seemed pretty interesting. I remember playing the VR headset at your house, and like you said, it is definitely a niche type of gameplay, or you have to really like virtual reality. When I'm thinking about virtual reality, and I know this is completely off the chain, but I'm thinking about like Ready Player One. I want to be fighting with Master Chief, like in a world, like I'm not going to spend $600 to be fighting stick figures, So and until I can fight with Master Chief, I'm not really spending $600 or $1,000 on a VR headset. But if you are, a VR player, I'm sure this is going to, up the ante for all the other makers as well. The things that I saw were pretty cool. So we'll just have to see how it actually comes out and what the community thinks.
Yeah, listen, I think the key thing for me is that if I was going to buy, I don't think I'm going to buy the PSVR 2 unless the price goes down. I mean, that's the most expensive console on the market, essentially. And it's even more expensive than the Steam Deck, which is rare to get, right? And that's a hard thing. Now, granted, they might be doing that for the moment because maybe consoles are harder to get. Like I have to check to see the availability of PSVR 2, but I wouldn't get it until it gets a little bit lower, right, in price range. I know it's the newer VR headset, and that's why it's probably expensive, but to get to the level past PS5, like, and we're talking like the PS5 disc edition, like that's a lot of money, right? And I think right now there's not enough games for me to like really jump in and say, oh, I'm going to play this all day long, right? VR is, like I said, it's very restrictive to certain people that like it. I like VR, but I also don't want to spend $600 on it. Like, to be honest, like even like the Rift was like $400, like that, and that was a pretty, when the time I was buying it, it was roughly $400. Like that was expensive for me at the time. You know what I mean? Like, and so seeing this at 600 is a lot, right? And so once it drops, I'll look into getting it. I mean, possibly. I mean, it really depends on what the Switch comes out. Then the Switch Pro comes out. I'm gonna have to probably get that one versus the PSVR 2. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's just well,
compared to its competitors, I think it is top of the line. I think
it's matching. Yeah. It's matching the level. I'm not saying it doesn't match the level of Rift or the Vive. Like, it's up there as a high level VR gaming, right? But the point is that I probably wouldn't buy it right now. Like, I think that like it's just because it's not like, there's one thing, like you look at the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. One thing that they have available for it is that you could technically play the games on Steam. Like, they have Steam VR, which opens up a giant network of games to download to your device and play on it, right? Because remember, they're using your PC to run the games, right? So those are compatible with your PC. The PSVR 2 is compatible with your PS5, right? And that means it only and PS5 only has exclusive number of games you can play on there, right? That's the thing I'm looking at. Is that, yeah, me getting the Vive or the Rift, there's a plethora, a giant library of games you can play. And yeah, you know, Horizon VR game looks great, and there's some other ones that look great too. And like Resident Evil 8, you know, VR looks cool, but like at the same time, like there's not enough there for me to say I'm going to make this purchase versus buying a Vive or a Rift at the moment. I think, yeah, it's a high level VR. Like, don't get me wrong, it's up there, but like, give me more library, give me a little bit cheaper of the price, and I think then it'd be definitely get that thing, right? It's and for people who have the money and love VR, go get it if you're really into the library they have. I just think, me personally, I need more games for that, and just a little bit cheaper. I think that'd be a good standard thing to buy, right, for anyone that's into VR. I don't think I'll be clapping anyone like Chris wants to do in VR, but I think I'll go player one over here.
I want to fight alongside Master Chief.
I don't think I'll be, you know.
Yeah, get on that, Tony.
I don't think I'll be hooking up with the lady from Resident Evil 8. the giant lady from Resident Evil 8. Yeah. I don't think I'll be doing that.
Giant lady.
Let's do a last little news story that happened this week, and then we'll call it after for the video. But this is not a gaming one, but this is kind of like a media film, and we're all fans of this series. The Batman, really the Joker sequel, is coming out, and we saw an image of the first look at Lady Gaga as being Harley Quinn, and obviously the biggest story is knowing that this is a musical, right? And a lot of people were kind of like nervous about this movie, and I kind of want to get your guys' opinion. You know, do you think that this Joker film can land even if it's a musical? And I'll give my take first. It's hard to land on a musical. I know that there have been movies out there that have like done like comedy musicals and stuff like that. I know musicals are an entire genre of film as well as plays and stuff like that. They are successful. But it's hard to kind of use the Joker as a musical. And I know the first Joker had a lot of music tied to like the importance of a lot of things going on and stuff like that. But like a musical, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like where like he'll be talking to Harley Quinn and then he's about to stab like a mafia boss, and all of a sudden he starts breaking into song and dance like with his goons. Like, that's really what could happen here? Like, I don't know about that. I'm a little nervous about seeing the Joker start popping out and doing jazz hands with his buddies about to kill some dude. I don't know if I'm into that idea. But Chris, what do you think that this has a chance of doing well, even as a musical?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess that's why Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn, because she obviously can sing, right? But I just don't know. I don't understand, or I guess I'm wondering how much of it is going to be a musical. Is it going to be like 50% musical, 50% acting, or is it going to be like 95% of the time they're singing through the entire, like 95% of the time are they singing throughout the movie? If that happens, I wouldn't understand how it could hit as a good movie. The first Joker was amazing, and I'm pretty sure it sold like $1 billion in revenue. So, I mean, some people didn't like it. I loved it. I know you guys liked it. But a musical, I'm with you, man. I really have no idea how they're going to pull this off, if it truly is like 95% singing the entire time.
It's going to be interesting to see. And Frank, what do you think, man? Are you into the whole musical idea?
I guess it depends on, like Chris said, how much of it is how they design this musical is probably going to be the biggest thing. If like you said, if they start breaking out in song and everyone starts like kind of being background dancers while the person's doing a solo, if that's frequent in this, it's weird to have the Joker movie, and this is supposed to be a sequel to that, come off well for me. Yeah. So I wasn't crazy about, like it didn't bother me much that Lady Gaga was Harley Quinn. I think what bothered me more was that when they announced that this was a musical, and maybe this was kind of to appease, the actors coming back for the second Joker movie. But to me, I just don't know how you go from the first Joker movie and making a musical this time and kind of having that same success that they had. Maybe they're trying to bring in a new type of audience for this. So it's not as exciting for me, but we will see, right? I mean, they've been successful musicals before.
Yeah, man. But I think that's going to be it for us today on Vendetta Gaming, our newscast, where we go over the biggest gaming news topics of the week. Do appreciate everyone that came out to watch. What do you think about these gaming news topics? Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can obviously hit that like and subscribe button to help support the channel. You can also find us on MARZZMAN Gaming, also located, connected to Vendetta Gaming as well. You can find us. We do a lot of different gaming news topics as well as kind of opinion pieces. And we're focusing on The Last of Us series on HBO, doing our own reviews every week. And you can check us out there as well. You can also check out Vendetta Gaming on Twitch. We stream daily, playing a lot of different games like FIFA and God of War series currently in play right now. But I do appreciate everyone that came out to watch. This is going to be MARZZMAN from Vendetta Gaming signing off. Peace out, guys.